Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Well, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and in today's episode, we have a very special guest. We have current goaltender Michael Garteig. Michael most recently played in a league overseas called Liga for Tapara and just recently signed a deal with ERC Ingolstadt in the Dell. Garteig is a goaltender who has had many special honors to his name, including BCHL champion, BCHL best goaltender, NCAA ECAC champion, best goals against average in the ECAC, along with a Kelly Cup championship, along with many other honorables. I want to welcome Michael Garteig to the show. Michael, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to be here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm super excited to have you on. Glad you could come on. So can you give our viewers a little background information on yourself? Like when you started playing hockey, when did you realize that you actually had a really good chance to play professional hockey? What made you choose to be a goalie?
Well, I'm from a small town in northern British Columbia, Canada. I grew up, played hockey. I was a player, probably started when I was 5, and then when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I switched to being a goalie. And being from a small town, there wasn't many positions really there to be a goalie, so I kind of saw a need for goaltending, and luckily enough for me, I got to do that in Prince George, which is considered a pretty good hockey town, and we had some good players and some good teams, so that helped. And then, from there, how I originally became a goalie was probably through my big brother. If I wanted to play, with him and his friends, I usually had to be goalie and suck it up. So that was kind of how I became a goalie in that regard, and then wanted it translated to ice hockey. Like I just said. And then from minor hockey, I played junior B in the KIJHL when I was 17, and then played in the BCHL for 3 seasons. That landed me a scholarship in Quinnipiac University in Connecticut. And then I was lucky enough to sign an NHL contract with Vancouver Canucks and spent 2 seasons with their organization, and then a third with the Toronto Marlies organization. And then I spent 1 season in Finland, and now I'm supposed to be heading over to Germany to play in the DEL.
Yeah, so what was the transition like from when you said that you're playing goalie with your brother, in the street, and just to transition over to ice? Was it an easy transition for you, or was it hard?
Oh, it was. I don't know, actually. I guess it's so long ago, it's hard to even think about now. But basically, like we had an unfinished basement, and if he invited his friends over, he put me in net and just basically try to get in the way of it. And I guess that's always been my philosophy. And then when it turned to ice hockey, there wasn't I'm a 1991 born goaltender, and in my hometown there was only a few of us. So luckily for me, that kind of put me on some teams, and I just got to learn by trial and error, and never had too much goalie coaching growing up. And luckily enough for me, I just somehow kind of filtered the way through juniors and college and play pro now. And I never expected that. And, I feel fortunate and lucky that I get to play the game I love and get paid to do it. So really, it's one of those things where I never had aspirations to necessarily do this. It just kind of kept happening with successes that I had, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you spent, like you said, you played junior B. But you did spend majority of your junior career in the BCHL, and you played in the KIJHL with Princeton. It's like you played 29 games there with 9 playoff appearances. Like, what was your first season of junior hockey like? And like, was it a hard transition to get used to the game of junior hockey?
It was kind of crazy actually, because that's kind of how I got kind of thrown into the fire, I think you could say. I played midget hockey in my hometown, and then the next year I actually made the Quesnel Millionaires in the BCHL, and that was kind of crazy for me because I was 17 years old. I made the team. I was there for probably about 2 months, but I never actually played. I played like one game, and um, it was kind of crazy for me being in minor hockey. You play all the time, and then you go to a junior A program, which is what they care about is winning. And I was, I sat on the bench and I learned the hard way doing that. But luckily for me, honestly, I say luckily because I ended up getting released from Quesnel, and then that's when I ended up in the KIJHL. And I was really fortunate enough to have a coach there named Dale Ledoux, and he just like gave me the ropes, let me play. And our team was like okay, we were like mediocre, but it was probably really good for me, and I saw a lot of shots, and I think that's really where I actually developed to become a pretty good goaltender. And it's crazy to say, but for a lot of young kids, like I got released and it was like a dark day, but the next thing you know, I'm playing, I'm seeing pucks, and then I end up signing with the Powell River Kings the next year, and that's what ultimately led to getting a scholarship. So
Yeah. So you said that you learned a lot from your time in the BCHL when you were backing up and like just going to Princeton as well. So like, what was like the biggest thing you learned that first year?
that first year, I mean, I think it's probably why I still have had the career I've had, is just because I kind of learned to roll with the punches, and you can't get too caught up in the moment, and you got to see the bigger picture. And I think that's what happened with me there, is that I wanted to play in the BCHL so bad my first year, and I end up making it, and I'm so excited, but then I'm not playing, so you're sad. And but then it created some toughness and some mental toughness that for when I got the opportunity in the KIJHL, I kind of just took the ball and I ran with it. And it made me grateful to be playing and playing a lot more. And I just knew, I don't want to be sitting on that bench. I want to make sure that I'm prepared and I'm ready to go. And that's kind of what it set me up for.
Yeah, as a goaltender myself, like you just gotta learn to go with the punches and go with the flow. Especially if you want to be successful, you just gotta keep doing that and just keep doing what you can to get better, what you can control, and then just go from there and just keep pushing yourself every day and getting that 1% better each day.
Exactly. It's very well said.
Yeah, so then you played the next 3 seasons in the BCHL for the Powell River Kings and then the Penticton Vs. So, like, what was the BCHL like? And, like, what was the experience like playing for the Powell River Kings when you first got there?
Oh, it was that was also, another good learning experience. You go from a young kid in high school to then I'm now out of high school, so there's some adjustment in terms of that. But I had a really good coach there, whether or not I knew it at the time. I thought he was a hard old school guy, but he kept you honest, and he made you understand, how hard to work. And I don't think we had the most skilled teams by any means, but we always made it far. And we lost in the finals 2 years in a row in Powell River. And I don't think, again, it was because we were most skilled, but I think we were so well coached. And, that was a good experience for me. I got I'm living in Powell River, which is like an island, so you're pretty secluded, and you kind of learn that way. And it was good. I mean, for my hockey career, it was probably the best thing that could happen to me. I was, maybe an average goaltender playing for a pretty good team with some pretty big defensemen in front of me, and that ended up, leading me to have some pretty good numbers, and that's how I ended up, essentially again getting a scholarship to Quinnipiac, and which led me to where I am here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, like, throughout your 2 years in Powell River, you, especially that second year, like, you had a really good year, and you were named the BCHL top goaltender. You had the best goals against average, best save percentage. So, like, how much did those, like, winning those awards mean to you and boost your confidence
Well, it was tough because at the end of the year, we ended up losing that year in the finals to Vernon, and I was obviously, I don't think I played my best in that series, and it was kind of unfortunate just because the way I played the whole season, and like you said, I had those numbers and I win those awards. Like, you kind of have a expectation to do that, moving forward, including the playoffs, and um, obviously winning those awards gives you some confidence. And for me, I was supposed to be going to college that next year as a 20-year-old. And, it kind of gave me a feeling that, okay, I just did this in the BCHL. I'm going to go to college and do well there too. But kind of last minute, I decided to pull out and not go to school that year. And then I got traded to Penticton, and, the rest is kind of history. I went there and we won 42 games in a row, and I played for this insane team. And, you could probably say it's one of the best teams that's probably played junior hockey in a long time. So, I was a goaltender for that team, which was pretty lucky. And we ended up winning everything, the Canadian National Championship, the RBC Cup. And it was a pretty special year. And then that kind of just catapulted me into college.
Yeah, would you say that the stress of winning those awards, like, took a toll on you, or would you say that, like, you just thought about just playing big, playing big like you usually do, and just seeing how that goes?
Yeah, I think like when you do win awards like that, no matter who you are, if you're a player, goalie, like obviously it gives you a little bit of confidence. Like, like, okay, like, I'm doing something right. So you stick to that, and it can kind of put a little chip on your shoulder. I know for me, when I won it my 19-year-old year, going into my 20-year-old year, you kind of have the expectations to do it again. And again, like luckily for me, I did do it again. So, I got to win that award twice. And again, like I said, the second time was obviously a little bit more meaningful considering the fact that we ended up winning everything. And, then again, it kind of catapults me into college. So.
Yeah, for sure. So then you went to play for the Penticton Vs next year, and like you said, you won the championship and everything. So, like, how fun was that season for you, and just like for your development standpoint as well? Like, you must have developed really well with that winning team, and just like overall, like, how was that year for you?
It was so fun. I mean, like when you like any sport or any athlete will tell you that no matter where you are, if you're on a winning team, it's fun. And that was kind of just sums up that year in a nutshell, really. Like, we won all these games in a row, and sometimes they weren't pretty and sometimes they were, and didn't matter because we were having fun doing it. And I really enjoyed the group of guys that we played with that year. And I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And, one of them still like one of my best friends to this day. And, um, it was just a special group of guys. And when you win something like that, you don't forget it. So there's nothing really more to say other than that.
Yeah, hey, a win's a win. Doesn't matter how ugly it gets. It just you get the 2 points and you get out of there.
That's right.
Yeah, so then after your time in the juniors, you made the decision to commit to NCAA Division I hockey for Quinnipiac University, and you played in 124 games throughout your 4 years, and you had an overall record of 78, 25, and 16. Yes, I did calculate all that, which are incredible numbers throughout college for you. So, like, what was like the process for you for selecting Quinnipiac to be your school for the next 4 years and helping your development?
I committed to them uh, when I was playing in Powell River my second year there. And my 18-year-old year, I actually never spoke to a school, so I never talked to a school. So I really didn't think it was a possibility. And then my 19-year-old year, the first school that talked to me was Quinnipiac, and throughout the season, I kind of started to get more interest, and I kind of narrowed it down to a couple schools. And Quinnipiac offered me a good scholarship, and I'm being from Canada and maybe not necessarily having the money to really afford education in the United States. It was, kind of at the end of the day, it was almost a no-brainer. I looked at their goaltending situation. I thought maybe I could fit in there and play some games, and that was obviously one of the more important parts to me. My family obviously cared about the education, but I just felt a little bit of loyalty to them. They had an assistant coach at the time who called me once a week or however many times he was allowed to in terms of NCAA rules. And, I just felt a connection there right from the get-go. And that's ultimately why I ended up going there. And clearly I think I made the right decision. So.
Yeah, I think you did too. And those NCAA rules are really weird when it comes to recruitment. I've been a part of that, and it's just super weird. And but hey, you're there. You were there, so that's all that really matters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so going into your freshman year, what were some of your expectations that you had, and how was your transition from playing junior hockey to your freshman year of college?
Again, that was a tough year. I mean, from a team standpoint, we ended up making it to the national championship, and we lost in the finals to Yale. And I didn't even play. I played one game the entire season, and that loss still stings. So, it was a very big learning experience for me. I think I came in with an ego, and I was, like you said before, I was back-to-back BCHL goalie of the year, and I came into college thinking, well, I'm going to go in and play every game and do what I just did in juniors. But there's a lot of good hockey players out there. There's a lot of good goaltenders out there. And that year I played behind a guy named Erik Hartzell, who ended up, he was a top 3 Hobey finalist. He signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, at the time, I think he was probably the best goalie in the NCAA. And, from what I didn't play, I learned from him. And, as hard as it was probably one of the best things that could happen to me, because again, I kind of came back hungry. I made sure that I was ready, and the next following year I played every single game. And from basically then on, I pretty much played almost every game from then on. So
yeah, so having a good starting goalie to look up to in Erik Hartzell must have been really good for your development, especially that first year. So what were some of the things that you learned from him that your first year that you brought on to even now in your pro career?
Oh, that year he was so consistent, and he every game he played he brought it, and it showed by the way our team performed. So that was really pretty much it. He was kind of so focused and in the zone that he was almost in his own world, but I totally understand. And so I kind of understood what it took after seeing him do it, and I wanted to kind of do that my coming years. And always got to try to be a good teammate and remember those around you, but at the same time a goalie is a kind of a unique position where you got to focus on yourself and do what you got to do to make the team have a chance to win.
Yeah, exactly. So then you went into your second year, and you said you played every game. So, was it hard to play every game, or what would you do to recover? Because goaltending takes a toll on your body. So what would be just some things that you do to help yourself recover?
Well, I think then I was just so happy to be playing, and I was so from not playing the year before, I was just so excited by that. At the same time, honestly, I don't think if I could go back and do it, I probably wouldn't have played every game. And obviously that wasn't my choice, but I think I probably would have benefited from not playing every game, just from being a college goaltender and you play every minute. It's pretty common for a lot of teams to do that because the schedule's so short, but there's a lot going on when you're a college athlete. There's you got school, and then you got the social life, and you have practice and games. There's a lot of mental preparation for that. And I think as a guy who played one game my first year and then every game the second year, it was a little tough. But In saying that, I think I learned from that year as well, because my junior and senior year, I was much better prepared and much more professional. And that's probably when I started to realize that maybe I had a pro career after. And that's kind of why I think I took it as serious as I did.
Yeah, for sure. And it really helped you like develop into the goaltender you are today, and like helped you to to go on with your pro careers. Like, what was the last 2 years of your college hockey career like, and just like the experience and the memories you made throughout those last 2 years?
Yeah, they're amazing. My senior year was, I rank it up there with probably one of the best years of hockey I've ever played personally, but also just from a team standpoint and a social standpoint. It was so fun. We had this amazing group of guys, like top to bottom, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. All we were all such good friends, and we hung out so much away from the rink. And I think that attributed to our success on the ice. And I think we only lost 4 games that entire year, and one of them being the national championship game against North Dakota. And it's so unfortunate we didn't win. Just based off, again, like, we had a team with like 2 NHL draft picks, and yet we made it so far. And credit to our coaches and coaching staff and everyone around that program that makes it kind of work. But that last year was so much fun. It was, a special year in terms of last college career. And unfortunately, we didn't win, but still a fun year and a lot of memories to be made.
Yeah, so what was that national championship experience like, and just like being there?
Oh, my freshman year we were there. Like I said, I didn't play, so maybe I didn't soak it in as much. But I actually remember I told Rand, our coach, freshman year we lost, and I told him, I said, I'll get us back here, I promise. And um, sure enough, we did. And unfortunately, we didn't win. But it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. You get, like, my family came down to Tampa Bay. It was where it was. So my girlfriend at the time and her family, now my fiance, so she came down and her family came down. So that was pretty exciting. And it's just so fun. Like, everything revolves around that college hockey experience right there. And unfortunately, we ran into a stacked North Dakota team, and it was pretty. We got beat pretty bad, and that's life. You can't win them all.
Yeah, that's good that you're able to get them back up there, and let's say just keep your word and be like that we're gonna get back there. But unfortunately, you didn't win, but you still got the experience, which is good. And on YouTube, I listened to an interview from one of your teammates from your time in college, and it seems like you like to flash the leather and make the saves flashy, maybe a little too flashy at times. Is that like part of your style of play? Because I'm the same way when it comes to making flashy saves and making everything have like a little swagger.
Yeah, I think when I was in college, I was pretty. I think you would probably say raw. Like, I was, I probably made saves a little more difficult than they had to be. And um, but then when I got to the pro level, especially in my first 2 years, I kind of struggled a little bit, because I felt like I was chasing the game a little bit more. But my third year in Newfoundland, and then my last year in Finland, I kind of learned to just play a lot more simple and not so much flashy. And I don't make as many highlight reel saves as I used to, but my game's kind of changed, but I think it's for the better. And in college, it was all get the crowd going, I guess, maybe, and have fun with those college fans and the student sections. But now it's a little different, and my game's a little bit more compact and a little more quiet. And I feel like it's been working a little better. So kind of that's what I've been working on now.
Always got a flash of leather, always.
Always.
Yeah, so then after your senior year, you signed an NHL contract with the Vancouver Canucks organization. So, like, how cool was it to get that opportunity to play pro hockey? And, like, how did the deal end up happening?
Well, I knew that, like, went to Vancouver's camp after my second year in college. I went to their development camp, and my third year I went to the Bruins camp. And uh, after my senior year, or during my senior year, I talked to a couple teams personally. So um, I went for lunch or dinner with the Vancouver scout, and I had a couple texts with a couple other teams and phone calls and stuff like that. That was during the season. And then after the year was over, things happened pretty quickly, and we lost. And like that night, I kind of knew that I had some teams interested, and I knew that there were some teams there that were watching. And yeah, the rest is kind of just up to your agent, and your agent, or at the time my family advisor, I guess. And then they field the phone calls, and they kind of tell you what's what. And at the end of the day, I'm from British Columbia, and it was a dream come true to sign with the Vancouver Canucks. Should I have signed there at the time? Maybe not, but you can't have regrets in life. And again, it's I'm still playing professional hockey, so I can't complain. Yeah, that's how it all went down.
Yeah, that's awesome how it all happened. So that same year you signed with the Canucks organization, you played 8 AHL games for the Utica Comets and 22 games in the ECHL for the Alaska Aces. So what was it like being a part of both the AHL and the ECHL level in one season?
That was difficult. That was a pretty crazy year. The first 2 years in general were actually pretty nuts. My first year, I got sent down to Alaska, after training camp or whatever it was. And, I started the year there, and I started off really well. And then I ended up getting called up to the NHL, and then I got sat on the bench for an NHL game. And then from there, I got called up or sent down to the American League. So then I was in 3 different teams in the span of like a week. And then I played my first American League game that weekend, and it was just crazy. There's a lot going on, but I ended up spending a lot of time in Utica. I just didn't play very much. It was my goalie partner, Stature Demko, and he was playing 3 of 3 games on the weekend, or I was getting a start maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. So it was tough. I spent a lot of time in Utica, whether it shows on the stat sheet or not. But it was tricky, but again, another learning experience. And then the next year when I was with Kalamazoo, it was the same thing, but I got called up to Utica like maybe 8 or 9 times or something, and I never played a game. So that was difficult, because my first year I felt like I got called up and sent down, and it was tricky, but I felt like I did okay doing it. And then the second year I just got it was one of those things where I wasn't playing very much in the ECHL, and then I got called up to the AHL, and I was sitting on the bench, and I get sent back down to the ECHL, and then I wouldn't play in the ECHL because I wasn't playing in the AHL. And it's kind of just a domino effect, really. And my numbers really showed it. And I had a bad year. No excuses for anything other than myself. I just wasn't ready, and maybe mentally not prepared. And that was a tough year for me, and very character building year, and a lot to learn from.
Yeah, very hectic year it seemed. But what was the experience like getting called up to Vancouver and being able to back up that one game and just being like that close to an NHL game?
Oh, it was so cool. Something I'll never forget. So the way like some of the older veteran guys like treat you, and I went to main camp there, and I knew them from camp and stuff like that. So that helps. And being signed and stuff like that is you're a little bit of a part of it. But it was a cool game. We won on a penalty shot in overtime, and Markstrom played a great game, and he was so nice to me too. And it was just a good experience. It was so cool. I'm from British Columbia. Like, my brother lives in Vancouver, so he came to the game, and I had some cousins that live in the area. They came to the game. And then after the game, I got to go out with them and have some beers with my brother and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Those are some memories that those will last forever.
Yeah, for sure. So what was like your mindset like when you kept bouncing back from the AHL and the ECHL, especially after that during that second season? It's like, I know you said that the first year wasn't your best year, but like, how did your mindset change going from the first year to the second year and still like getting called up to Utica 8 or 9 times, like you said?
Oh, that was hard. Then that's where I think I learned the most, because like mentally, and I think I was maybe throwing myself a little bit of a pity party instead of just embracing it. And that's where I've learned. That's definitely where I've learned the most. That year was like the hardest year I've ever had, and I didn't even want to play hockey afterwards, and it was so difficult. And but at the end of the day, I ended up getting an opportunity the following year, which, helped me so much. But during that time, it was hard because you live in the moment and you can't see the bigger picture. And it's very frustrating for me when I was getting called up, and I kind of knew when I was getting called up, I wasn't going to play. So, you get called up and you sit on the bench for 3 games, like it's not very enjoyable. And then a lot of the times I was up for 3 days and then sitting on the bench for 3 days, and then I was getting sent down on Monday. So I'm like, flying there on Friday, flying back on Monday, doing that like 3-4 times, and then staying there for maybe 2 weeks, and you're in a hotel the whole time, and just stuff like that. It go like people don't realize sometimes as a hockey player, those are the tough times. But again, like, my year was bad, but it's all self-induced. It's not anyone's fault. It's especially not, Vancouver or Utica or Kalamazoo's fault. It was just maybe a little bit of immaturity on my part, and something I learned from. And, obviously I think it helped with my successes later. I lost you. I can't hear you. Nope, still can't.
Yeah, so I was saying that going to your successes in 2018, 2019, you had a fantastic year playing 2 games with the Toronto Marlies, and you also played in 43 regular season games and 23 playoff games with the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL before winning the Kelly Cup. So, like, how special was this year for you, both personally and as a team, and then capping it off with a Kelly Cup championship?
Oh, I mean, I was so lucky, like having the year I had, that second year pro. Like, I was basically told I wasn't going to sign a contract anywhere, and um, I'm not going to lie to you, I applied for some jobs, and I was thinking this is looking pretty grim. But luckily for me, like someone I skate with in the summer times, Brian DeCord, stop at goaltending. He was the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie scout, and he kind of put my name out there to Newfoundland, and Newfoundland ended up signing me. And originally I was on an ECHL contract, and then I ended up signing an AHL contract with the Marlies. And from a personal standpoint, it was amazing because I kind of feel like in that pro level, I kind of got the opportunity that I was waiting for those first 2 years. In Newfoundland, I just ended up playing and getting my goalie partner got called up to the AHL, and so it was kind of just me down in the ECHL, and I got to play every game, which was super beneficial. And it kind of reminds me of when I was in junior A and I got cut and I went to junior B and I got to play all those games. It was a very similar year. Like, I was in the ECHL and I just got to play, and our team was good, and I saw lots of shots, and I definitely gained some confidence. And then I brought that up when I got called up to the Marlies. I played a couple of games. I got first star my first game, and then but they just didn't they didn't really jack me around. They kind of just, I got called up, I'd play, and then I get sent down. I got called up, I played, and I got sent down. I wasn't kind of up there for long periods of time, or I wasn't up there doing nothing. I was, every time I got called up, it was kind of for a purpose. And I really respect them for that, because it didn't allow me to skip a beat, so that when I got sent down to Newfoundland, I ended up playing. And, and then no different than when I was at Quinnipiac or when I played junior A, with Penticton. Like, we had such a good group of guys, and we just had so much fun in Newfoundland that by the end of the year, it was like no one wanted to get called up or anything, because we built something there in Newfoundland, and we ended up winning the Kelly Cup, which is, to be honest, of all championships I've ever won, that was probably my favorite. So meant a lot.
Yeah, and so you played 66 games with the regular season and playoff games, so that's a ton of hockey for you. It's like, how much? So, like, what were you, for like recovery wise? Did you focus on like the same thing you did when you were playing for Quinnipiac?
Not so much. I mean, at this point I realized that I'm getting paid to play hockey. It's a little different, and definitely like took care of my body much more, especially in playoffs. in playoffs in Newfoundland, I did lots of like hot tub, cold tub stuff, like after games. Practices were pretty light. They were never too bad, but yeah, lots of rolling outs and mobility work. And I was during that run, especially in Newfoundland, that was a time when I made sure my body was getting taken care of. And I'm not one to really go in the training room, and I don't like to be there unless I need to be. But during that run, I spent a good amount of time in there, whether it was some like leg flushes or some massages or just little work on my hips or groins and stuff like that. So
Yeah, for sure. So going into the playoffs and like that game 6 of the Kelly Cup final, like what was it like those final minutes winding down game 6? And then when the buzzer hit 0, like what were some of the emotions going through you and like your team, and like how much fun that night was for you guys?
yeah, like it's crazy. Like the season is so long, you play so many games, and you go through so many ups and downs in a hockey season that it's unexplainable. Like you ride the highs and you ride the lows, and you go through these losing points and you think the world's going to end, and then you go through these high points where you just think you're on top of the world. And throughout that all, you go into playoffs and every game matters and every minute matters, and everything's so meaningful that when it's all over and we won, it's just like a weight lifted off your shoulders. It's one of the best feelings you can actually think of. And being in St. John's at the time, we won at home, so we had like sellout crowd. And then if you're St. John's is a pretty fun town, so we had something set up for us after we won, and it was amazing, fun experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before this episode, I got a text from a good friend of the show and your old goalie partner, Eric Levine, from that run. He said, thanks for giving him a ring. And like, he also asked, like, how awesome was that? It was a parade downtown after you guys won.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, Eric Levine, he's a character, man. But yeah, we had I ended up getting a tattoo on my leg, and then uh, from the tattoo parlor, I went to the parade and drove around downtown St. John's and went like right on the water, and the big, huge fishing boats like honking their horns, and pretty big turnout actually, which I wasn't sure we were gonna get. But then then we had a little thing on stage, and there was so many people, and just like people in Newfoundland are so proud to be from Newfoundland, and proud Canadian people. And it was just such a cool experience, because for them it was just as big a deal as it was for us. So it was so fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Seems like the Newfoundland fans are top notch and they really do care about their team. So that's awesome to play for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so then the following year you end up going overseas to play in Tapara and Liga, where you played 34 games. So, like, what was the decision like to go play overseas after winning a Kelly Cup championship?
Well, like Toronto had offered me to come back there, but they made it pretty clear that I was gonna play in Newfoundland. And after the year I had, I kind of felt like I wanted to progress. And I talked with Toronto about it, and they actually thought it was a great idea for me to go overseas. And that's something about that organization that I really value, is that they care about you as a person. So I respect that about them. And then when they came calling, and they offered me a pretty good contract, and it was compared to what I was probably making in the AHL, or it just made sense. And my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, I say, we were kind of looking for a new experience, and we both wanted to try something different. And we go to Finland, and didn't realize that it was they take the hockey so seriously. It's freaking nuts. And go over there, which is Tappara is like probably one of the best organizations in Finland. So they expect to win. And luckily for me, again, I got to play for a great team, and unfortunately we didn't get to finish the season because of COVID, but I think we had a really good chance at winning, and it's unfortunate we didn't get that chance.
Yeah, so what was the transition like going from the North American game to the game over in Finland? Like, how much different was it? And, like, what was the transition period like for you to actually get used to it?
It was you know, it's crazy to admit, but it was freaking insane. Like I thought, I mean, I signed an NHL contract. I've been to NHL training camp. Like, I've been to 3 NHL training camps, and it's like this was a month-long NHL training camp is what it felt like. You go there a month early and you just train nonstop, Monday to Friday, twice a day on the ice. You're working out twice a day. You run all the time. And then as a goalie, like we had a goalie coach who we spent an insane amount of time with, who was amazing, like best, you know, I can't say that, but one of the best goalie coaches I've ever had. And yeah, so that was a huge transition because like Monday to Friday, like you can't do anything other than eat, sleep, breathe hockey. And then, you know, luckily for us, for an import guy, there was like maybe 1 or 2 other imports. And luckily for us is they kind of gave us the weekends off. So that was kind of fun to experience like the city itself. And then, you know, you get to go out with your teammates and meet them that way. And Finnish people are pretty shy. So like Monday through Friday, pretty quiet people. And then Saturday or Friday, Saturday nights, like pretty funny. They get pretty talkative and they have a couple beers in them and stuff like that. So that was a cool experience. It was awesome to experience another culture. And I can't say like enough about the Finnish people in general. Like that my teammates there in Finland were amazing, so welcoming. And I had so much fun there. I would have loved to have gone back there. But they had signed a goalie before the season even ended, so I knew I wasn't going back pretty much the whole time, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I know overseas that the celebration is a huge part of the game. And it's like, what was your favorite celebration that you did when you guys won?
My goalie partner would always do stuff to the crowd. He always like kind of would get the crowd going. I never really did that much because I kind of felt like I didn't want to take it away from him. So I never did too much, but it was something that I will always remember for sure. And I definitely have a video or two on my phone that, you know, are pretty cool of the fans like chanting my name. And sometimes I do the celebrations with the other goalie. So I'd like do things with him. And my goalie partner was an amazing guy, and he was a really good goaltender too. So that was, you know, we both like had this very good competitive competition with each other. And you know, he was a friend of mine and spoke average English, but great guy.
Yeah, that's unreal. So going on like later in the season, like COVID-19 came into play. It's like what was it like the final few days before the season shut down? Like how crazy that I would imagine that it got after the season was canceled.
Yeah, we played on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and on Tuesday we played on the road and we had full fans. And then on Thursday we played at home and we had no fans. So we played with 0 fans in the rink. Played the game. That was our last regular season game of the year. And we were told that don't worry, things are going to be fine. We're going to play, take 3 days off, which we never ever got. So I knew something was up. And then basically we had our they told us the season was canceled. We had our year-end meeting on like a Saturday, and we were out of there on like Monday. So it happened really fast. It was, but I'm glad we got out when we did because like the borders locked down, and it was pretty crazy. I went to Canada where I'm from, and then my Allie, my fiance, she's from New Hampshire, so she went to the U.S. I went to Canada. We were separated, but a couple months after when I was in Canada, I ended up flying across the U.S. and I've been here the whole time. So
At least you're able to get past the border and come back to the United States. So
yeah,
that's at least good.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I got a few more questions for you before we get this thing over with. So, what are some tips that you'd give younger goalies looking to get to that next level?
Oh, I mean, I think a lot of it is that like it's tough to say. There's so many things I could say, but some main points would be like try to enjoy the game. Don't look at it as a job at a young age. Like you got to have fun and you got to enjoy it. And, um, I always like highly advise kids to play other sports and don't just focus so much on hockey, but, play other sports, enjoy those things. Because at the end of the day, like if you are going to end up playing hockey long term, like, it does become a job. It's not, I still think hockey's fun, but I know that it's how I make my living. So it's a little different. It's fun in a different way. But I know that I cherish all the sports I grew up playing, and I always loved playing other sports competitively, and I still try to this day. So I think that's one key thing of advice. The other thing would just be maybe, like I said before, you kind of just got to roll with the punches. Being a goaltender is a unique position, and sometimes when things aren't going your way, it doesn't mean the world's going to end. And, there's lots of hockey left to be played. And, those things sometimes can be learning lessons and building blocks for your future. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So my final question of the day is, what are some pros and cons of practice?
Pros and cons of practice. Pros. I'll start with the good first. You get an opportunity to get better every day. One thing I learned from playing was that practice matters, and if you're not prepared in practice, then you're not going to be prepared in games. So, plus, it's always fun stopping your buddies, and it's fun being competitive. It's fun having those like moments with the guys, because when it's all over, like that's the stuff that you'll miss for sure. And but the cons would be right now, not being able to shower after practice. That's probably one of them. Getting dressed in 15 minutes to get on the ice. That's not that fun. Right now, there's a lot of cons to practice because it seems like a hassle, but I understand to keep it safe and all that. But at the end of the day, any day you get to put on the skates and go out there and play hockey, you got to be grateful, because no matter what level you're at, it's supposed to be fun. And, hockey is one of the greatest games in the world. And, we're lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta, it's weird being a home dresser, because since we didn't do that since like we're peewees, so it's definitely interesting getting dressed in the parking lot and getting dressed at home. So that's definitely weird, but hey, at least we're getting on the ice, so that's all that really matters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck going forward, and especially in this season with ERC Ingolstadt.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Have a nice rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.